Hey, you do it. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so it's Tuesday night screening, so we're here at Parkway.
Yes.
That's usually what that means. And this was the only movie that... This is the only movie I saw tonight, so it won't be like, oh, okay, first I need to tell you about this piece of shit I saw earlier this afternoon.
So we'll get right into this. And this is probably going to be a really short review because there's... What do you say about this movie? I mean, it was a good movie, but it's not... Like, it's not the movie I'm going to be telling people about.
You know a lot about the source material?
This source material, no. I'm Daniel Close is, it was... His books were the first comics I got into, after growing up reading superhero books that were more adult-oriented. My older brother gave me a couple of his graphic novels to read when I was, 16, 17. And I love his work. Wilson's not one I'm familiar with, but also at the same time, it's... I don't really buy comics anymore. It's like I keep abreast of what's happening in comics, and I had a Marvel Unlimited subscription for a while, but you don't get the underground stuff with that. And I'm curious to go and read Wilson now to see how close it was, but it's...
Yeah, because he also wrote the screenplay.
Yeah, he also wrote the screenplay. He wrote Art School Confidential a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Which, honestly, I think was probably a better movie than this. But this could be an excellent adaptation for all I know. I mean, Ghost World was an adaptation of one of his books.
Okay.
And as much as I like the movie Ghost World, it is not very much like the comic. So I'm curious.
Yeah. The last time that I remember hearing anything from him was that whole Shia LaBeouf thing that happened a couple of years ago. And I was thinking about this earlier too. When that happened, when there was that whole plagiarism thing with Shia LaBeouf, I think the short that he did was like howardcantor.com or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time I had this joke episode of DVDR Hell up that was like a review of howardcantor.com, and everything I said was plagiarized from other reviews. Yeah. Which is probably a video that has not aged well. Like, I probably look like a madman in there talking.
But it was fun at the time.
At the time, yeah.
No, Daniel Close I really liked a lot. And this movie was, not knowing the source material, but, it was written by Daniel Close, and it very much felt like watching a Daniel Close comic book.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of his thing, is misanthropic lead characters that, speak weird truths, but are the lovable asshole. Yeah. Like, that's kind of his thing. Like, my favorite stuff of his is always, he would occasionally do real weird sci-fi stuff, and that's what I really liked to his stuff. He had a anthology series called 8 Ball that was amazing. But this movie was a good movie, but at the same time, it's not one of those movies that it doesn't speak to me on any personal level.
You said it almost would have, though.
Almost would have. If I had never moved back to Springfield and continued on in my, life before I came back here, and I hadn't married Sarah and had the baby. Like, I was watching this character going, in like 15 years, I could have been that guy. That was the guy I was on a path to be, who just, would talk to anybody, but still fucking hated him.
Yeah, most of the time I was watching this character, because he is this character that just oozes cynicism porn. Yeah. Just bitter, angry at everything, just cynical bastard. But then sometimes will say something either profound or actually kind of sweet and heartfelt. So watching it, I was like, this guy is kind of like Josh Hadley crossed with Alex Shryock.
It was weird because it's just like he hated everyone, but he was just so much looking for a human connection that he was trying so hard to be a friendly guy.
It's honestly a real benefit to this movie that it's Woody Harrelson playing him.
Definitely, and like I've seen images from the comic book.
Yeah,
Woody Harrelson looks the part too, which is great. But yeah, a lesser actor, you would have found him fucking insufferable.
Right, like not even like a lesser actor, but like a wrong actor for this. Like they were right to put Woody Harrelson in here because Woody Harrelson is an actor who's just. He's genuinely likable. So when you see Woody Harrelson in a part like this, you're not instantly put off by him or anything like that. You can kind of see the good in this real bastard of a character. And it does play to that as it goes along. Like something really awkward might happen, but Woody Harrelson just has a way of...
There's enough charm in it that you go, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's never a moment where I'm sitting there like, I hate the fact I'm watching a movie about this guy. And the wrong kind of performance, that's exactly what would have happened with this.
No, and my thing with the movie is, it's one of those... I'm just not overwhelmed with it, you know? I think it was fine. It's one of those things that... Honestly, I think if this was one of those things I had found, or not even found, if I had just waited for Netflix or something, like I would have enjoyed it much more immensely because this is the kind of movie I want to sit on my couch at home with a beer and just enjoy on my own time. And like sitting in the movie theater was actually a little like almost distracting for this kind of movie.
We were the only ones in there, so it's like technically, we could have... We could have talked during it. We were the only ones.
But it's still not the same.
No, I know. Yeah, exactly. Like, I agree with you. Like, if I would say that this is the kind of movie that you pull up on Netflix and you'll definitely get something out of it. You certainly will. It came to a point where it almost started losing me in this film. Like, the first 2 acts, I thought... were pretty solid. There were some scenes here and there that were kind of awkward and weirdly edited, but other than that, I was like, I'm actually having a pretty good time here between Woody Harrelson and Laura Dern and their chemistry, which was great, and this whole weird dysfunctional kind of family thing they have going on with the daughter, and all of that I was really digging. I was really enjoying. It got to a point, and this is a spoiler, when he got to prison.
See, that's when the movie picked up for me.
Did it really? Yeah. Okay.
And I think it was getting to that point where the movie was following such a close narrative, which is kind of what you expect, and then he goes to prison. And it's one of those things that's like, one, to me, that was like, this is a very Daniel Close place to take this story. And the other thing, it was like, okay, it's a break from everyone else and then puts the focus back on him, you know?
It was a break from everyone else, and I do respect it in the sense that, like, this went in a completely different direction. I definitely respect it in that regard. The problem I was having with it was it sort of felt like the movie's own shitty sequel started happening. Like, if there's a third one of these and it's Wilson Goes to Prison, like, it was like, suddenly you're watching Bridget Jones's Diary and then the prison one happens. Like, that's sort of what it felt like to me when that happened.
I can completely understand that. And, like, I won't say it wasn't, like, a jarring jump, but I liked that jump.
And I can understand. Like, and you know what? Like, I'd almost have maybe preferred if that was even its own movie, because it was... The whole prison sequence was edited in such a way that this is taking place over 3 years and kind of barely feels like that.
No, it did not feel like 3 years.
Yeah.
That was... Like, at one point you didn't know it was 2.5 years had passed until he said 2.5 years.
Like, I thought, like, it'd been a week or something. Like, so... It was kind of losing me there a little bit. I was like, this is... I'm like, any minute now, I'm just expecting Jackie Earle Haley to pop up and just fucking scorch a fucking neo-Nazi. Like, I was...
Yeah.
And I was sitting there like, if it is going this direction, I kind of... It also feels like it should be fleshed out a little bit, because at first everyone hates him, and then a few seconds later, everyone likes him.
Yeah.
And I guess I could have used, if you're going to go there, then I guess I would have liked it to have been better edited. But even then, I was feeling like this is a different movie that just is suddenly happening.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
It did. I mean, even with that happening, it wasn't like I was sitting there like, wow, this movie sucks now. I was just like, I kind of preferred everything else that was happening before it. But when he got out of prison, I kind of liked the stuff with him and Judy Greer.
Yeah.
And I liked him coming back to town and everything's different. Like the bookstore's now like a cupcake factory and things like that. I enjoyed that, and Woody Harrelson is in probably 100% of these scenes, and he carries it. He carries it just fine. Well,
he's Woody Harrelson. He can carry just about anything, to be honest.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, and the movie got a lot of laughs out of me.
No, it got a lot out of me too. And it's just and I would highly recommend the movie. To me, it's not a theater-going experience. Maybe with a crowd.
Uh-huh.
Maybe a crowd of like-minded people.
Sure.
If you're like at an art house theater in a major city or something, you go see this. Mm-hmm. Maybe that changes it. Like, I can maybe see that. I mean, but at the same time, I'd still prefer to watch it at home.
No, I agree. Technically, I didn't pay anything for it because I had rewards on my Stubbs card, and it's Tuesday, so tickets are cheaper on Tuesdays. But had I paid any theater prices for it, it's not like I would have been mad leaving the theater or anything like that. But no, this is a movie that's perfectly solid. As like, you're looking for a movie to watch on Netflix, you pop this thing up and you sit there, watch it. You'll have some laughs. You might have a pretty good time with it, and you'll feel perfectly satisfied by the end of it.
Right. There's nothing wrong with the movie. To me, it's not like a go to the theater and like it just. This is a weird thing to say because I like movies I like small movies, but this movie felt so small that a big screen was, and there wasn't enough going on with the filmmaking to really warrant a big screen experience anymore, you know?
I know.
I mean, I always suggest a big screen experience for any movie you think you're gonna like.
Yeah.
Go see it on the big screen because there's always a difference. But
no, totally. I completely understand what you're saying because we've recommended small movies all the time on here to go out and see immediately, and it's like, I know what you're saying, and it's like, you can't maybe put into words like this movie is perfectly fine just to chill out at home and watch on TV, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
You know it when you know that movie when you see it, and that's kind of this.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's I'd wager to say it's good, but it's also one of those movies that, like, end of the year, I'm probably not going to remember that I saw it.
I mean, it's not going to be on my best list by any means.
Unless the rest of the year's good. Yeah. I mean, if I'm putting together a top 10 of 2017 so far, it might be in the top 10. Mm-hmm. But barely.
That's like when you're making your top 10 in January.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
But that's what you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, like it's. Look, I mean, I could say it's one of the better movies I've seen in the last couple of weeks. It's certainly fucking better than Chips. Like, dear God, if you're at a theater that's only showing this and Chips, you got a shitty. What kind of theater is this? Yeah. But for the love of God, see this over something like that.
Yeah. There's other things playing, though, that you could go see that it might be more of a, like, go see Logan again. Spend your money. Like, if you're going to spend theater, it's gotten to that point, like, going to see a movie, I think is still, like, it's still, to me, important to go see movies in theaters.
Same here. I agree.
But honestly, at this point in my life, if I'm going to spend the fucking money to do it, I want it to be a movie theater experience.
Well, I mean, what do you mean,
I don't need explosions and shit, but I at least want to see like some like filmmaking at work. And like this was made fine, but there's nothing extraordinary about it, which is kind of the point, I know. But
no,
still.
I had some problems with the editing in this movie.
Some of the editing,
so like I know what you're saying. Like this feels weirdly edited. There's not the focus is kind of off in some aspects of it.
But to me, that's I think I was watching it as someone who's read a bunch of Daniel Clo's work, and that's kind of his thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see anything. Like this is the movie that's the kind of movie it's really easy to sit there and overly criticize little things that you would ignore in other movies. And I caught myself doing it a few times, and I was just kind of like, yeah, but it's not really that bad. It's just, it's not, it's because it's so easy to focus on those things that your attention's drawn to it.
Yeah.
There was one part where they did kind of like the time-lapse thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the only part of the entire movie, and it was 30 fucking seconds long that I was just kind of like, you know, a different form of getting the same point across would have fit the movie a little better. But at the same time, it was just like, this is interestingly done.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
It looked pretty enough.
Yeah, like, instead of the time-lapse thing, maybe just, like, shots of it with different things going on would have been more effective for this movie.
Sure.
But at the same, like, why get overly critical about it? Like, what's like? I know I'm known for getting overly critical about some shit, but sometimes you got to ask yourself, what's the fucking point? And there's no point in getting overly.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because there is nothing bad necessarily about this film.
Yeah, like honestly, we keep talking about this shit because we're trying to make this video worthwhile to watch for longer than 30 seconds.
Right, exactly. Like, I can't just sit here and go like, it's fine, the end.
We should really start doing reviews like that.
Right, yeah, well, you know, that is its own, like, there's two different kinds of reviews like this. There are the ones that are 3 minutes long, and then there's the longer form, the more free form ones like ours.
Yeah.
But in I've done a couple that are like only like 4 or 5 minutes long each, and they get like far less views. Like, people at this point, like, this is the format that fits the channel, you know?
And that's what works for us.
Yeah.
Know, fuck it.
It's what I prefer, honestly.
Yeah, it's more fun for us to actually be able to like sit and chat about shit too. But it's it's like a movie like this. There's not that much to chat about, so we start getting picky and shit. Like when I get picky about shit like Logan, it wasn't because I was trying to bash the fucking movie. It's just like it was a movie that had my interest enough to get me riled up about shit. That's not a bad thing.
No, and then there is a certain type that this has nothing to do with you or the review you gave on Logan. It's just
or anything else.
Oh, well, there is a certain type to where if you don't give something 4 stars and say that it's perfect, that means you hated it. You know? So there was a certain type that would yell at us about that over Logan or Rogue One or something like that. 2 movies that we did recommend. Actually, I really loved Logan. I only kind of liked Rogue One, but I still recommended it.
I loved Rogue One, and I really liked Logan.
Right.
You know?
And those aren't negative reviews.
No, it's just, we're talking about shit. It's like a Logan. If I had to give it a star rating out of 4, I still would have given it easily 3.5.
Yeah.
That is still a glowing fucking review.
Yeah.
Because I had a few personal quibbles with it. In the format of the show that we do, for me to talk about it is not that bad.
Yeah, 3.5 is probably what I'd give it to.
Yeah. And, you know, Rogue One, I probably would have given 3.5. Or even 3.
I'd have given it 3. I never wanted to assign any kind of grade or star rating to a show like this.
No, a show like this, it's so arbitrary, and it really depends on...
We see, because
we're going in right afterwards.
Exactly.
Like, we're still responding to the movie immediately after. There's no thought process. We're fucking rambling.
So, yeah, exactly. So assigning, like... I mean, dear God, there's been a couple of videos that we've done in the past where it's like a week later, I'd be like, oh, that was a little too easy or a little too hard on that. Yeah. So assigning a star rating, I'd be like, oh, okay.
I could probably name a couple movies where I've been too easy or too hard. Like, looking back on it. Mm-hmm. Like, The Counselor. That's the one that first comes to mind every time. Because when we first saw it, we both kind of highly recommended it. And I've watched it again, and I still don't think it's a bad movie, but I do think it's much more of a mess than I thought it was at the time that we first saw it.
Right. I don't think of that one in terms of that, but again, it's because I don't remember a lot of that movie. Yeah. Honestly, not enough to do that. But
sometimes you go see something and you're having, because we're also watching movies with our friends, you're having fun and shit, and that can change the experience of a review.
The go-to example for me off the top of my head is Godzilla. The 2014 Godzilla. And it isn't that suddenly I dislike that movie. I don't. I think it's fine. I just think it's way more of a... When Brian and I talked about this in the Kong Skull Island review too. Like, when we got out of that, the third act of that movie is so good that
the first two acts, you kind of go, it was worth it. And then you think about it longer, and you're like, was it really fucking worth it?
Right, exactly. So, like, I remember we were kind of riding that high a bit from the third act of that movie, and then immediately going to the car and reviewing it. Then later, like, yeah, the movie's fine, but, like, you have to sit through so much bullshit in that fucking movie.
I've thought about, like, doing, like, a blog where I'd wait, like, a week and then write a review with all the movies we go see. And then I just realized I'm too fucking lazy to do that, so it's not gonna fucking happen.
I always thought about, like, if this show keeps going, like, having something to where it's like
we could revisit things
10 years later or something like that. Like the more controversial reviews, like Prometheus or Cowboys and Aliens or Man of Steel or stuff like that. Like, see it again 10 years later.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
It'd be, I don't know if 10 years is necessary for a lot of those.
But a number like that, 5 years even.
But most of those movies that you've mentioned, I've rewatched since we've reviewed them.
And I haven't.
And my opinions have not changed on those movies. Mm-hmm. Still like Prometheus, still hate Man of Steel.
Yeah, and I haven't revisited those, like, but I still remember those. I pretty much remember those movies from beginning to end, more or less. Like, so I don't know how much my opinion would change on them. Man of Steel, highly fucking doubtful. Prometheus, I'm sure I'd still be fine with, honestly.
Well, it's one of those. Prometheus it's really that movie that I really think the major backlash was everybody wanted it to be an alien movie.
Mm.
And it kind of was, but it kind of wasn't. And it wasn't... When they were making that movie, the intention was to make like 2-3 movies as prequels to Alien. And now they're doing like one more.
Right.
And it's just kind of like everybody jumped to conclusions. And it's like, but if you pay attention, if you're really a super fan, like, it's not the same planet. Like,
no.
Like shit like that. People were bitching about that. It's like, you just weren't paying attention. You're angry because you weren't paying attention.
Well, my thing, what I kind of gathered at the time that movie came out was there was a lot of, like, talk from people who kind of just wanted insta masterpiece out of it. And then the movie turns out to be, I don't think it's a masterpiece. I wouldn't even say I think it's a great film, but I think it's fine. I think it's good. I think it's got some really intense moments in it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean the movie's bad. And that kind of goes back into, like, if it's not a 4-star masterpiece, that means it's bad.
No, and that's the thing about fucking Ridley. We're on a Prometheus tangent now. But that's the thing about fucking Ridley Scott, too, is because when you think of Ridley Scott, you think of the amazing movies he's made.
Yeah.
And then you have to think a few minutes longer and remember, for every amazing movie he's made, there's a not-so-great movie he's made.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like, either a movie that's passable or just kind of like, So for every Gladiator, there's a Robin Hood.
Oh, God, he did do Robin Hood. Fuck.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, there's that shit, you know? Like, you gotta remember that. Like, oh, yeah, they're not all genius. Like, the man's an amazing filmmaker. But, like, Occasionally, he just makes a movie to make a movie, I think, you know?
Yeah. And it'll be something that's worth talking about by the end of the day, whether you like it or you don't.
Exactly. No, honestly, it's like, yeah, he made that Robin Hood movie. And if you look at it, if you watch that movie and you take out all references of Robin Hood and you don't think of it as Robin Hood, you're like, it's a pretty good period movie. But at the same time, it's supposed to be Robin Hood, and I don't give a shit for historical accuracy when I want to watch a fucking Robin Hood movie. I want a motherfucker with a bow and arrow and some merry goddamn men.
Yeah, and like Alan Rickman chewing scenery left and right. Fuck yeah, like,
And I recently rewatched that movie.
I love that movie.
You know what? I watched it like a week and a half ago, and I still love it, but I'll tell you this, it's fucking terrible.
Which did you watch? Did you watch the extended? I love the extended.
No.
The extended is just more Sheriff of Nottingham.
No, and that's everything with Alan Rickman is fucking gold.
Yeah.
But you watch the rest of the movie and it's just like, really?
I love it. I even think it's a well-made film. I think
it's well
the
made.
musical score is fantastic. I think it's suspenseful.
It's got all those wonderful aspects to it that are fantastic. And you've got Alan Rickman being amazing. And you've got Morgan Freeman doing great. And then you have Kevin fucking Costner
and Christian Slater.
And you're just like, what the fuck are you two doing?
But at the same time, it is just that period of that kind of casting.
Oh, I know.
To where it's like, Christian Slater's still charming here. Like, fuck me, he cleared it. Like, trying to do his whatever accent in that movie. Like, there's something
Kevin
about
Costner
it.
not doing
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The dude who was Little John was really fucking good in that movie. I remember liking him a lot.
And if you remember the guy who was Friar Tuck, who was on the first couple seasons of
Michael McShane? Is that it?
Yeah, he was always on early episodes of Who's Line, and he was always my favorite guy on there when he was on.
Chucks the evil priest out the window at the end of the movie.
No, and that movie's still great and it's still fun.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's fucking awful.
I wouldn't say it's awful. I think that there's aspects about it where you're like, okay, maybe like some casting should have been slightly different in a few of these places. But there's enough good things about that movie in terms of its action, its music, its editing, its filmmaking, and its villains that I can't say it's awful. It's just got some very 1991 things about it.
No, but my thing is, if you're gonna like do the retelling of you know, one of those great classic stories, but you want to do it grittier or something, at least get a little fucking crazy with it. Like, at least go, fuck it.
That movie got pretty crazy. Like, he saves her from being...
I'm talking less about...
Oh, you mean the Ridley Scott one?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree.
Because you know what movie I rewatched the other day that I had a blast with that arguably is not a good movie? King Arthur.
The Clive Owen one?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, God, I haven't thought about that movie in a long fuck... I've seen it, but I haven't seen that since the theater.
That's the thing. It's on it's either Netflix or... Maybe it's Amazon right now. Free to watch. And I was just like, I'm at home with the kid all day. I watch a lot of fucking movies right now. And I was like, I haven't seen this since it first came out. And then I thought it was ridiculous. Let's watch it again. And it's still fucking ridiculous. But when all the cast starts showing up, and it's like, when this movie came out, you have to remember, the most famous person in that movie was Keira fucking Knightley. And it's like, oh, Clive Owen. And the guy playing Merlin that's Stannis fucking Baratheon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ray Winstone. Joel Edgerton.
Right.
Mads Mikkelsen.
God. Maybe I do need to see this again.
Yeah. Ray Winstone, Mads Mikkelsen, Hugh Dancy, and,
we're about out of... We talked until the end of the memory card.
Fuck it, yeah.
I haven't seen that movie since it came out in theaters, and I can't even remember who I saw it with.
We've spent most of this review talking about other movies.
We have. So this is one for the books.
Yeah, well, you know, we're filling time.
See ya.
Bye.